Okay, thank you, Kati, and welcome to today's webinar, where I'm going to talk about surveying the AI persona. This came about because there's so much misinformation out there that I wanted to clear up, and also wanted to take a bit more of a deep dive into how all of this is actually working. So I'm really glad everyone's here. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end. So, keep your questions handy. I'll be happy to answer all of them. But in the meantime, I'll get started. So my name's Christoph Weber. I'm a solution architect here at Pronovix, and I've been deep into thinking about the AI persona and serving it well for the past, I want to say, 18 months, because it's very clear that for us, practitioners in the documentation and especially the developer portal space, the information that we put out there is what is being fed into the AI models and is being fed into RAG type chatbots and other places. We are the source of the real information, and doing our job well is going to be very important. More important than if you just have a random blog or some sort of marketing site, because for us documentarians, it's what we put out there is what really is the ground truth for AI agents and other upcoming technologies. So, what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about this persona, the autonomous AI agent. Then I'll introduce the llms.txt file. Next, the Markdown output and content negotiation. Then talk a bit about discoverability and also dark patterns that we avoid in our platform. And finally, why this all matters today. And I'll show you some live examples and not just slides to show you that this is in fact working in real life and how it works. So let's talk first about the autonomous AI agent. And first, a big disclaimer. We're not talking about AI crawlers. A lot of people have started to think about outputting Markdown and then complained that the crawlers of the big AI companies are not coming in, and I'll talk in more depth. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not the crawlers from the OpenAIs and Microsofts and Googles of the world. These are the autonomous AI agents that request content from your developer portal because they have a task to do. So some examples of those that we currently know of, but that's by no means exhaustive at all, are Claude Code and its open source equivalent OpenCode, and lately also OpenClaw that everybody is talking about. And there's, I'm sure, a lot more that don't have names that everybody recognizes. But these are out there now, and they're active. And that's what we want to focus on, because now we have this new persona that we need to focus on and serve correctly. And of course, there's not just the technicalities that I'm talking about today. There's also content and the focus of our content, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Is about technicalities. So first up is the llms.txt file, which is really actually quite boring by design, but really powerful. Think of the llms.txt file as the homepage for AI agents. There's really no complex schema or anything here. It's just Markdown that LLMs already understand. And the real value is that you're the curator of its content. Just like you would have a well-structured, say, API specification, is not just that you want to provide data, but also provide context where that data belongs. And since you know your documentation better than any crawler, the llms.txt file allows you to be in charge. You can tell the AI agents which parts of your developer portal matter. You can tell them where to go next. You can give them context of your site architecture and site context. And that's why I'm calling it the homepage for AI agents. Next up, the Markdown output and content negotiation. These agents that I named a couple minutes ago, Claude Code, OpenCode, and OpenClaw, they all send today an accept header of the form that you see here on the screen. It says accept text markdown and maybe also text HTML, which in plain English translates to I'm requesting this web URL, a URI, but if you have it in Markdown format, I prefer that. If you don't have it in Markdown format, you can send it to me in HTML format. So they tell you already what they would prefer. And why do they do that? You can already see this in the images on the side. The Markdown version of the same page is a lot simpler. It's about token economics. So let's go to the next slide. It's about the token efficiency. What we see when we go from HTML to Markdown is that we are using about 80 to 99% fewer tokens. And if you've been on the receiving end of a bill from the AI providers, you know that the billing goes by tokens, typically in increments of 1 million. So if fewer tokens are used, you pay less. And also, if fewer tokens are used to establish context, the context will drift less because at the end of the day, when you fill the context window, some of things will be cold. Typically, it's a first in, first out type situation. But it could also be that all the additional stuff from the non-relevant items on a web page are confusing to the AI agent and will set its thinking, quote unquote, thinking adrift. So if you compare the homepage of a developer portal that you see on the right to this that you see in Markdown, that's just a whole lot simpler. That's why we get fewer tokens. In terms of statistics, these are some statistics that have been published out there. You see from Vercel, from Anthropic, from Stripe, that they are claiming numbers that are in the 99+% range. I think those are carefully chosen examples that make for a great marketing example and are not really realistic in the real world, but it's certainly made for clicks on LinkedIn. Cloudflare, with their new Markdown for Agents feature, has 80.5%. And Discord developer docs publish numbers that are 97.1. I think the last two are more realistic, what to expect. In our own hands, when we make Markdown output available on the developer portal that we give you, we see, depending on the exact content type and the content structure on the site, efficiency gains around 85%, give or take 5% up or down, thereabouts. So that's what you can expect in a more typical case. And I've been through a whole bunch of different pages by now, by no means exhaustive, but I've seen enough that I can stand behind those numbers. So it's still a big gain if you don't have to pay for 1 million tokens because you save 85%, that's quite respectable. And also if you can keep the AI agent more on task because you send it less information, that's a good thing. So let's skip to a live demo to show you a few examples. Here is a page on the Developer Portal Awards site. The HTML page, you see landing page with lots of things. Also an extensive footer. And of course, in the header, you have some information. You've got menus. And then when we actually request, so this is the home page. Now, if we look at llms.txt for the same site, this is what it looks like, how we have configured it right now. You see it has a title, it has a little bit of context of what this site is about. It has the links from the main menu, but what I really want to draw your attention to is down here. Excuse the scrolling. We have categories where we have a title of a page. and we have the link to it in Markdown format. And then importantly, and that's what matters in llms.txt, you have, oops, here we go. You have an explanation of what is inside this page. This is a summary of what's inside the page. So this establishes context, what this page is about. So you get a title, the link, and a summary. And that helps an agent to navigate and figure out, all right, this might be a page that I need to go next based on my task list. So that's llms.txt in a nutshell. And in the format that we give you inside of our developer portals, this is completely under editor control. You can put all of this together yourself to really establish the context of your site. Point out the places that matter, and you can point out where to go next and why. In terms of Markdown output, here's a typical page. Actually, let's first go to the HTML version. So this is the one of the winners last year. And you see, again, nicely, nice and colorful with all the extra stuff. And when I go back to the MD version by appending.md, we get this. We have the title of the page. We have the link to the homepage that you saw and the content that is delivered, and none of the extraneous stuff. So that's why you go from thousands of tokens to a few hundred at most, right? So that's basically this whole thing in action. Now, next, what I want to show you is content negotiation, and we're going to drop to the terminal. Let's clear up a bit. So what I want to do first is basically just get a web page and look at the headers that we have. And so excuse that, I'm now playing AI agent. You see that when I request this page from the Pronovix website, I get, among other things, a content type header that says this is in text HTML format. Also, the character set is specified here. And what I also get, further down, let's see. What I also get up here is a link header that says, by the way, with a slightly varied URL, you can request an alternate version of this content type, and this alternate version is of type Markdown. So this is discoverability. I'm saying right in the HTML response in the headers to the agent, you can get a Markdown version of the same page. And if I actually request this and go for the MD version with the link that was given, this is what we get. In terms of headers, we now get content type is text Markdown. And so if I actually don't focus in on the headers and get rid of my -il argument here, here's the Markdown content, right? So that's the content negotiation. And actually let's look at it at a true example of the content negotiation. If I send a header, I target the HTML version of this page, but I send a header that says accept text /markdown. So I'm now playing AI agent. Says send me, oops, typo in there. Send me this content in Markdown if you have it. What we get is the Markdown version. So that's the negotiation. Either the agent in the beginning already says, send me the Markdown if you have it, or it can discover it through the link header that I showed you. There's also a link in the HTML object itself in the head section, so we have the discoverability right in there. And that's how this whole thing works. in practice. So let's do some myth busting. There's one thing I've seen out there that where people have posted on LinkedIn and elsewhere that, the crawlers, the AI crawlers, are not consistently requesting my Markdown pages. Now, the real fact is, if you are OpenAI or Anthropic or Google or whatever, if you have your crawler already set up and you've done this years ago, you have already a working setup that is already optimized. The crawlers will get whatever they crawl, and you probably have some post-processing that transforms to Markdown or some other text format. And there's no need to change just because now Markdown is available, because this is already optimized, and changing how this works now would actually be extra work. So the expectation that the AI crawlers will request your Markdown is misplaced, in my opinion, because these guys have already optimized all of that. Now, the second fact is, and I've told you that already, the AI agents, as opposed to crawlers, the OpenCode or Claude Code of the world, they can and do request Markdown today. We know that. We've seen it in logs, and it's published by the agent manufacturers. Another myth that I've seen out there is, some people have said, I have now had my llms.txt file for a whole month, and in my logs, I don't see a single request for it. And therefore, this is a useless bit of effort. The fact, of course, is this is still very early days for what is not even a standard. It's a proposed standard, but it's still a useful file, in my opinion. The secondary fact here is that the AI agents out there, they're now requesting Markdown if they can have it. But apart from that, they're just figuring out how to efficiently navigate the non-HTML web. This is brand new. I'm pretty optimistic that in the longer run, AI agents will request the llms.txt file. We have seen reports out there that the long version, the LLM's full.txt file, is actually being actively requested and used. So I'm thinking, expecting the established guys to use it is wrongly placed, but the AI agents will probably use it. The questions I have for people who are critical of all of this are, if you have pages in your developer portal that are less used, are there some that are not used each and every month? And if you have any of those that are not visited at least once a month, would you simply delete them? I mean, would that make sense? It's still useful information, and at some point, somebody will request it, and it's going to be critical to their success. Let's talk about some dark patterns. Here's one dark pattern that I've seen. People have set up their web server to detect user agent and some behavioral checks. And based on that, they figure out, or try to figure out, is this a human visitor or a bot visitor? And then they decide, okay, to the human, sending the HTML version of the page, and to the bot, I'm going to send the Markdown version. This is a very, very bad pattern. Don't do this. Don't believe anybody out there who says that this is a good thing. Why? You should rely on content negotiation that I showed you, or on discovery as the only mechanisms to serve AI-optimized content. The agents know how to do this. We know how this works, and the agents are doing this correctly. And serving different versions of the same content without being asked is looked at as a very bad thing by all of the search engines out there. You will get a down rating from the Googles and Bings and other search engines of the world, guaranteed. So don't do this ever. You don't make decisions on behalf of the customer. They can figure out themselves what they want, regardless of whether it's a human or a bot or anyone else. The second dark pattern is you should serve a canonical URL. The canonical URL denotes the ultimate source of truth, and it avoids duplicate content penalties from search engines. And right now, what you should do is set the canonical URL to the HTML content, because that's what we have always served for the past 30 years. And do not skip this step. I just talked to the project lead at DrupalCon last week, Dries Beutert, and in his own website, he's not doing this yet. So, but he's working on this as we speak. So that's a good thing, because you have now two different versions of the same content, a Markdown and an HTML. So tell the search engines which one is the canonical one with a canonical URL header. Another dark pattern is use a CMS or a site building tool to create your content once. And then let the CMS or site building tool serve the correct format when requested. And absolutely do not maintain separate content versions for each format served. There was some silly discussion out there about 2 months ago by both a Google search expert and also a Bing search expert that said the pattern of serving Markdown is a bad pattern because now you maintain two different versions of your content. Of course, you should not maintain two different versions of your content. You should let the machine do it. And the machines can do it. So maintain one version and then let the technology take care of the rest. Do not maintain that. It would also, in the long run, diverge guaranteed, because nobody can keep thousands of pages synced all the time. So in some ways, this is weird that I'm preaching all this stuff today, because when we coded up the Markdownify module for Drupal and released it 1.5 years ago, we put all of this in as a matter of common sense. And then as other people followed and discussion started online, all these things came up, the dark patterns, the doubt and all of this. But really, all we're doing fundamentally is that the web has always been ready for multi-format output since its inception, and RFC 7231 and its predecessors cleanly spell out how this is done. And in fact, multilingual sites, RSS feeds, PDF output, all of these things that we might be doing on our websites follow the exact same pattern. There's nothing new in here. It's just that people got distracted in the context of AI and AI-ready output and thought that this was a new thing. It really is not. It's just another format that we're adding, as if we were adding a secondary language or a feed or what have you. So this is normal things, and it shouldn't actually deserve a second thought, except right now people are discussing all these things, and I wanted to buzz through some of this today. So what I want you to take home today is you, or all of us, can either take the wheel or we can take a seat. We can implement and provide AI-ready formatted content. And if we do this, we can be part of the solution, or we can wait and see what happens and let the autonomous AI coding agents and other agents come knocking and provide them substandard output. It's really up to us, but it's not that big of a deal to get it working. And I would encourage everyone here to just do it, get it done, and the world will be a better place as a result. Now, for our own customers, if you have a Pronovix developer portal, we are ready to roll out both llms.txt support and Markdown output as a free upgrade. We have just put it into our own sites, as you've seen a while ago. So talk to your account manager for the exact timing on your own portal. This is ready to go. And we'll be rolling it out in in the near future. The code is there, it's tested, and good to go. Before I finish, I want to draw your attention to a couple other things. One is the upcoming webinar by our co-founder, Laura Bass. how leading financial developer portals bridge the B2B discovery gap, and research that we've done. That's on April 16 from 4 to 4:45 p.m. Central European Time. And we also have a service that we offer as a free service, a free AI visibility diagnostic report that focuses mostly on accessibility and structure and semantics and content, and less on technology, as we talked about today, but is a nice supplement to what I presented just now. And you can apply on our website for this free service. And now we can open it up to Q&A. I'm happy to answer any of your questions that you may have.